Welcome to another Hornbill TV Explainer, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Alunguli. India is one of the biggest media markets in the world with a global salience index of about 3.69%. Salience, ladies and gentlemen, in this context refers to importance or global importance. India ranks 7th in the salience index among countries that have high emerging media presence and use in the world. India trails behind the United States, the United Kingdom, China, France, Germany, and Australia. The world's most populous nation, India, with a population of approximately 140.76 crore, that's from 2021 records, is a television and media hotspot. The television and video market in India is expected to generate revenue of approximately $15.17 billion this year. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a big number. This projection indicates an annual growth rate of 5.72%, resulting in a projected market value of about $18.95 billion by 2027. Again, the Indian media and entertainment industry is set to grow approximately 9% to $73 billion by 2027. This data is according to the consultancy firm Pricewaterhouse International Limited. Again, the revenue in what we now call the OTT or over-the-top video market in India is projected to reach about $3,666 million this year. The market is expected to show an annual growth rate of about 9.39%, resulting in a projected market value of about $5,250 million by 2027. Ladies and gentlemen, staggering numbers, big numbers, huge numbers. With that much involved, do you not think something big's going to give away eventually? Looks like it's already on, ladies and gentlemen. There is a new legislation on the way in India that has the potential to change the way Indians view broadcasting, news media, and news information, and of course entertainment content. Broadcasting Services Regulation Bill 2023, ladies and gentlemen. The government of India has named this tool Broadcasting Services Regulation Bill of 2023. This draft legislation comprises 6 chapters, 48 sections, and about 3 schedules. For general knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, schedules in the Constitution of India are tables in the Constitution which have additional information that is not mentioned elsewhere in the articles. Now, the Broadcasting Services Regulation Bill 2023 seeks to replace the Cable Television Networks Regulation Act of 1995. Besides replacing the Cable Networks Regulation, the new bill seeks to replace other policy guidelines currently governing the broadcasting sector in India. Ladies and gentlemen, so what is the Broadcasting Services Regulation Bill 2023? The bill essentially provides regulatory provisions for various broadcasting services under a single legislative framework. Ladies and gentlemen, mark those terms because we are going to be explaining based on that. The bill, if passed, will replace the Cable Television Networks Regulation Act of 1995 and other policy guidelines currently governing the broadcasting sector in India. Moreover, the bill extends its regulatory purview to encompass broadcasting OTT content, digital news, and current affairs currently regulated through the IT Act of 2000. It also includes provisions for emerging broadcasting technologies according to a government source being reported by national media houses. On November 10th, the Information and Broadcasting Ministry released the draft of the Broadcasting Services Regulation Bill 2023. The whole idea of the proposed legislation is to bring a consolidated legal framework for the broadcasting sector, radio, television, for instance, but it looks like it might even cover non-news content platforms, for example, Netflix, YouTube. We'll be talking about more about it later on. It will then extend the over-the-top content, digital news information, and current affairs in its scope and definition here. Media reports say that a draft bill includes provisions for emerging broadcasting technologies, just like most modified British legislations in India, which have regulatory mechanism built into it. The new bill introduces something similar. The bill has a regulatory input such as what is being called the content evaluation committees, ladies and gentlemen. Another one is what the government calls the Broadcast Advisory Council. These are two inputs that will be part of the entire regulatory mechanism within the bill. Now, apparently these committees are for self-regulation. The Broadcast Advisory Council, on its part, is apparently to advise the central government on program code, besides overseeing advertisement code violations. That's what the media report said. Now, the traditional enforcement tools are there in the bill. It provides statutory penalties such as advisory, warnings, censure, or even monetary penalties. That is for operators and broadcasters who violate provisions given in the bill in case it becomes an act. Now, there will be provisions for imprisonments or fines for violation of the provisions of the legislation if it becomes an act. So by its face value, ladies and gentlemen, the bill also apparently aims to make broadcasting more inclusive and accessible to people with disabilities. For instance, there will be provisions for the use of subtitles, audio descriptors, and sign language as part of the government of India's push for inclusivity here. Further, reports say there are provisions in the bill for infrastructure sharing among broadcasting network operators. It is similar to how most cell phone services in Nagaland initially provided through BSNL infrastructure work. So you have one company that is providing the pipes. You have other companies using the same pipe to deliver the water. So it is similar to that. Just a few days ago, on November 8, the Washington Post published startling revelations about how a group of executives from the United States technological companies and Indian government officials convened every 2 weeks to negotiate something what every truly democratic society stands against. The tech companies and Indian officials were deciding what you could or could not be said on social media, Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, especially against the government. Now, at these secretive gatherings, officials from India's information technology and also the security and intelligence agencies presented social media posts they wanted removed. Their claim, the officials' claim, was that these pose a threat to India's national security. Among the tech organizations that resisted this apparent infringement was Twitter. But now, as you may already be aware, the Indian government has virtually tamped all foreign technological companies when it comes to handling dissent, especially the voices that criticize the ruling dispensation or ruling governments and parties. You know what happened to Twitter and Facebook. You already know. Nowadays, you are watched and you can't say anything that goes against the narratives of powers that be. If you criticize and you're spotted, you can be very certain they're going to send in the police and the authorities and the investigation agencies. The government has now new regulations to hold tech companies in India criminally liable for failing to comply with its regulations. The matter has come to a situation where Twitter had to quietly fly its top India executive out of the country when the authorities unleashed an anti-terrorism police against a Twitter official. That's what the Washington Post reported earlier. Imagine facing an anti-terrorism police unit just because you called a minister a cow, or you called a minister a donkey, or just because you expressed support for a party or other than the ruling party. And this has happened, and I believe this has happened in Manipur even about 2 years ago, when reportedly one person called a certain minister in Manipur a donkey, I think, and they arrested him. So that's the kind of situation we have now come to. At the heart of expression of worries, especially in the media, is this, ladies and gentlemen: censorship by the government. Meaning, there is a potential for censorship over free speech, free expression, and free artistic expression, free intellectual expression, and free and impartial news information that could affect everyone from movie makers to painters to journalists and news and television and media houses. So that is the reason why many people are expressing worries that this new bill might start intruding into spaces where it should not be intruding. So now this is the question: how will the new bill affect the content of news establishments, television houses, television houses, newspapers, digital platforms such as YouTube and Facebook? So now the government of India has offered unassuming, almost congratulatory statements. For instance, Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur said the bill introduces new definitions for contemporary broadcasting terms. It also incorporates provisions for emerging broadcasting technologies, he said. He posted on X saying that the pivotal legislation modernizes India's broadcasting sector's regulatory framework. It replaces outdated acts, rules and guidelines with a unified future-focused approach. But what the casual observer might not see here are two almost invisible details, ladies and gentlemen. First, Content Evaluation Committee. Second, Broadcast Advisory Council. So I'll be explaining a little bit on this. The draft bill has proposed that broadcasters and network operators, digital and television companies should form individual self-regulatory content evaluation committees to take action against members who violate norms and advertisement codes. Now, the penalties that have been proposed include advisories, warnings, censure, and monetary penalties. It also includes, of course, imprisonment and fines depending on the seriousness of the offense. The monetary penalties also depend on the financial capacity of the violator by taking their investment and turnover into account to ensure fairness, or at least that's what the bill promises. Now the question is, if self-regulation is to be offered to the broadcasting sector, to television news channels for instance, why is there a statutory evaluation mechanism in the first place? In the media, the concept of editorial freedom is the heart of all democratic discourses in impartial reporting, for example. The worry is that stories and reports or content that go against the ordered narrative, the popular narrative of powers that be, the popular narrative of the authorities, would be filtered out. So that's one of the worries, ladies and gentlemen. And if the committee wouldn't include government functionaries, which will ultimately mean people who work or on behalf of the government, then isn't the broadcast media's members who are able to regulate it themselves? We have seen how in almost every government regulatory mechanism, its members are from certain ruling parties or certain ruling governments at the center or at the state. While we are not yet sure who will comprise the committees, who will be the members, it is understood that the strength of penalties, including fine and imprisonment, itself says the members will potentially be people who will enforce the government narrative, meaning they might be people from the government who will have to take charge in this, because the provision itself indicates something in that nature. Now, we have seen how authorities in India often prosecute ordinary citizens even for opinions that go against the narrative of those in power. So the likelihood of people from the government side interfering into democratic editorial spaces is very high, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is the second worry, ladies and gentlemen, Broadcast Advisory Council that has been provided for in the draft bill. Now, the Broadcasting Services Regulation Bill 2023 has also another mechanism that is similar to the Content Evaluation Committee we talked a little while ago. A mechanism called Broadcast Advisory Council has been proposed to be inserted in the bill. Now, the bill proposes to establish the Advisory Council that is to be led by a sector expert. Then it will presumably be composed of eminent persons in the industry, and this is the one thing you should hold on to. Purohites, not just eminent persons in the industry, but also purohites, government officials who will be included in the advisory council. Now, this is the problem. These members will advise the government, not the television news channels, not the YouTube news platforms. They will advise the government on advertisement code and program code violation. Now, advertisement codes are a different thing, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about commerce and bringing in revenue for the establishment, because all this establishment, they use advertisement programs to be able to generate revenue for the companies. But when you have something like program code, which is a very vague term for content that is published or broadcast in the platform, TV news channels for instance, then we might have a little bit of a problem here, because they will be advising the government on your content. So that is why the media is worried. Now, the council will replace the existing in the departmental committee, which mainly has purohites, government officials as its members. So if it includes purohites, government workers, one can safely believe that there is no way that there will not be remote controls, ladies and gentlemen. It will not come as a surprise that the new bill comes in a backdrop of controversies over content and broadcasts everywhere on streaming platforms, even on movies. There have been a lot of controversies about certain movies. Recently, Akshay Kumar's OMG2, and there is Adi Purush, and even the movie Water by Deepa Mehta. It is reported that the central government had privately asked over-the-top services to review their content independently to censor obscenity and violence before they are shown, before they are screened or streamed. While films screened in theaters are certified by the statutory Central Board of Film Certification, content on OTT platforms are not yet reviewed as of now. For instance, the legislation will affect the content on Netflix, Amazon Prime, and also Disney Plus Hotstar, that the content, the movies you watch, will have to be duly certified by the evaluation panel, which means I can be very sure you'll be having to miss out on a lot of your special movies you used to watch in the past. And now if you have new movies and they're not certified by the government of India, you won't be able to watch them. Let's say Avengers, let's say the Transformers, let's say Avatar. This practically means there won't be free speech and expression. There won't be artistic expression independent of any kind of censure. Actually, North Korea and the Chinese music and movie industries function like that because of their governments, because there is too much interference and censure from their governments, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching Hornbill TV, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be talking more about this in the later time also. I'm Al Nguli. See you next time.